Listen, last week we talked about getting our money right. This week we're talking about something that every home buyer is going to ask eventually. How much house can I really afford? Today, we are breaking down DTI, also known as debt to income ratio. We are going to give you the exact formula of how you can find out exactly how much house you can really afford. All right, let's get into it. Now, by the end of this video, you should know what is DTI and why it matters. You should know how to calculate your DTI step by step, and you should also know how lenders view your financial profile. And lastly, of course, we want you to know how much house you can actually afford with realistic numbers. Now, the main thing lenders want to know is, can you truly handle a mortgage payment on top of your existing monthly debt? Now, when we're talking about monthly debt in this scenario, we're talking about minimum monthly payments, not any maximum monthly payments, just the bare minimum of what you can pay. Now, as I said, DTI stands for debt to income ratio. Now, there are two types of DTI that you need to know about. The first one is your front end DTI, and all that is that equals your housing expenses. Now, before we go on, let me just say I went ahead and wrote out this example so that way this video is not as long. Also, I'm honest with myself, I do not have the best penmanship, but I hope you can read this. They also say people who are geniuses have somewhat sloppy handwriting. All right, that's my disclaimer. Now, once again, let me repeat that. Your front end DTI is talking specifically about your housing expenses, such as property insurance, tax, anything you can think of, your mortgage payment, and of course, any HOA fees if you have any. Now, your back end DTI, that is all of your monthly debts. This includes everything: car payments, student loans, credit card minimums, personal loans, anything you can think of. That is what your back end DTI is, and that's what all lenders are going to use to find out if you can qualify for a home. Now, again, remember that the lender is going to take your current back end DTI and add in your mortgage payment. So we'll get more into that as we start going through the calculation of your DTI. I just want to make sure you understand the difference between front end DTI, which is your housing expenses, and your back end DTI, which is all of your monthly debt, including that potential mortgage payment. Now, debt to income is exactly what it sounds like. How much debt do you make in comparison to your income? Now, this number here, 36% to 43%, most lenders want to see you somewhere in between there when it comes to your DTI. Now, if you're using the VA loan, you can most likely get higher than 43%. VA loans have a different set of criteria when it comes to getting qualified for a home. We'll do a separate video on these, but this is just a ballpark figure of what lenders want to see. Keep in mind that some lenders are going to be able to get you approved with more than 43%, but we're using this as a ballpark figure and just to stay in the safe zone right now. So please keep that in mind. Now, your debt to income ratio formula is very simple. It is going to be your total monthly debt. Again, we're talking about minimum monthly debt payments divided by your GMI. When you see GMI, that just means your gross monthly income. And now, so you do that formula and then you times it by 100 to make it a percentage. So now, how do you figure out your total gross monthly income? How do you know the difference between your gross and net income? The way I remember this is I say is gross because we cannot keep all of the money we're given. We have to give that money to Uncle Sam. So if that's a trick that works for you, then by all means use it. It's gross income because we have to give some of it away. And your net income is, of course, what you're getting after taxes. Now, how do you calculate your total annual income? All you have to do is look at your pay stubs and see how much money you're making before taxes and add that up 12 times, and that should give you a good ballpark of your total annual income. So how do you find your GMI, or your gross monthly income? To find your gross monthly income, all you're going to do is do your total annual income divided by 12. So for our realistic example, we're going to say this person is making $85,000 a year, and we're going to divide that by 12. So that equals $7,000 a month. It's actually like $7,083 a month, but to make this example as easy as possible, we're just gonna keep it at around $7,000. Again, so you'll take your total annual income divided by 12. That's gonna give you your gross monthly income. And so in this situation, we have $85,000 of total annual income. We divide that by 12, and that's gonna give you $7,000. Now, let's talk about the DTI formula again. As I said, DTI, debt to income ratio, that is gonna be your total monthly debt, the minimum payments, divided by our gross monthly income. Our gross monthly income is $7,000, all right? So let's just make up some scenarios, some realistic scenarios here. Let's say you have an American Express and the minimum payment is $200 a month. You have a Visa card, the minimum payment is $300 a month. Let's say you love electronics and you shop at Best Buy, so you have a Best Buy credit card. The minimum payment is $100 a month. You have a car, and so in today's day and age, let's say you have a minimum car payment of $500 a month. And then let's say you have $400 of student loans monthly. Remember, these are all minimum payments here. All of these are minimum payments. So that's gonna give you a total monthly debt of $1,500. Now, all we do to find our DTI, you're gonna take 1,500 divided by 7,000. You can pull that out, do it on the calculator. You don't have to do the math in your head in today's day and age. So that's 1,500 divided by 7,000. That's gonna give you an answer of 0.214, blah, blah, blah. It's gonna give you a bunch of numbers. And so to make this a percentage, all you do is times this number that you came up with on your calculator, times it by 100, and that's gonna give you a DTI of 21%, which is great. That's really good. But we have not added in that mortgage payment yet. So the real question, how do you find out how much house you can afford? We're gonna do this based off of numbers in today's market. We're gonna use a 6.5% interest rate. Let's just say you're putting down 5%. Of course, we'll include taxes and insurance in this estimate, but the main thing I want you to understand is how to calculate your max DTI and then a safe DTI. This is where these numbers come into play. We're gonna give two numbers here. So we're gonna do an estimate based off of 36% DTI, which is safe and comfortable for someone who makes $85,000 a year. So all you would do is take that GMI, or also gross monthly income. You're gonna take that amount, so we'll do 7,000, and then we're going to times it or multiply it by the 36%. And so all you have to do is plug in your calculator, 7,000 times 0.36. Don't put the percent sign. You should have came up with $2,520. All right. Now, here's where it gets fun. So you have to subtract your existing debt, $2,520 minus our existing debt of $1,500. What do you get? You should have came up with $1,020. So that is how much room you have for a monthly mortgage payment, $1,020. Is that realistic in today's market? Most likely not, especially for most families. This is not going to get you much. You'd probably be looking at an investment property, maybe a 1-bedroom. Now, being realistic, what that translates to and how much house you can afford, this monthly payment, you're gonna be getting about $140,000 home all the way up to $180,000. It really depends on how much money you put down. Now, let's do scenario 2, where we're gonna use the 43% DTI. Now, remember, all you do is take the GMI, which is $7,000, and times it by whatever debt to income ratio you want. So let's erase some of this. And remember, the 36% DTI is on the safe side. This 43% that we're gonna do is gonna be not so comfortable, but still affordable in some people's eyes. So we'll just say not so comfortable, and we'll leave it at that, okay? So we're gonna take our $7,000 gross monthly income for this scenario of someone making $85,000 a year, and then we're gonna times it by 0.43. What'd you come up with? If you did it right, you should have came up with $3,010, okay? Now remember, they want to know how much you can afford with your amount of monthly debt. So again, for this scenario, this person has $1,500 of monthly debt. So since we came up with $3,010, we're gonna take away $1,500, and that's gonna let us know how much they can afford using a 43% DTI. Now that should give you a total of $1,510. That's how much room you have left in your budget to be able to stay within the qualifications of a 43% DTI. So that means you can spend $1,510 on a mortgage. Now, is that gonna get you much in today's market? Not really. It will get you something. This will get you something between $230,000, maybe $260,000, depending on how much money you put down. Remember last week's video, we talked about getting our money right. This is why it's so important to eliminate debt. The less amount of debt you have, the more house you will be able to afford. If you have a $7,000 income with no debt, then you can obviously buy more house. And remember, just because the lender approves you for the max, that does not mean it's the best option for your lifestyle. Just because you can afford it on paper, that does not mean it's gonna fit your monthly budget. Might be stretching yourself thin. So please be careful when it comes to purchasing a home. Now, as I said before, the more money you put down, that is going to cause you to lower your loan amount, and that's going to also help you have more affordable monthly payments. Now, interest rates do play a factor in affordability. Even a slight increase of 0.5% could lower your budget by tens of thousands of dollars. But if it goes in the opposite direction and interest rates go down, then it could actually increase your purchase price. So that does play a small part as well. Not as much as this number. We have to get our debt down. And of course, property taxes and insurance are always going to affect your monthly payment. Your taxes are going to go up eventually. As your house grows in value, then the taxes are going to go up. If your insurance changes, you can always shop around for a better insurance company. Here's the truth about what lenders are really looking at. They're looking at your entire financial profile. That includes your credit score. Higher scores are always going to equal better interest rates. They're looking at employment history. Stability matters. Are you jumping around from job to job, or do you have a nice stable job so you'll be able to keep up with that mortgage payment? They're also looking at your savings, especially if you have money in reserves after closing. So again, we need to eliminate our debt so we can save money and have money in reserves. Now, your loan type, the FHA, VA, and conventional loans, they all have different rules, but that does play a part in your debt to income ratio. Now, a good lender is going to walk you through every single option, but knowing your numbers in advance puts you in control. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. If you're making $85,000 a year and you have about $1,500 in monthly debt, you are in a solid position to buy, potentially up to around $260,000, but you can comfortably afford something in the $160,000 to $190,000 range, and that's if you're budgeting wisely. And remember, owning a home is not just about the numbers. It's about confidence and clarity. So when you understand what lenders are looking at, you can shop smarter and negotiate stronger, and you can actually buy with the peace of mind. So as always, if you're thinking about buying soon, please reach out. I'd be happy to help you and walk you through the pre-approval process. Again, I am not a licensed lender. I am a licensed realtor, but I do know how these numbers are done. So that is my disclaimer. I am not a licensed lender. I can put you in touch with a great local lender if you do want to find out how much you can actually afford based on your financial picture. So do me a favor, like this video, hit subscribe for weekly buyer and seller tips. Be sure to share this with someone who may need it. And thank you so much for watching. And as always, I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.